Well, greetings and welcome to another session of Pop In with Dr. Stretch. We're celebrating Women's History Month with yet another phenomenal woman. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dr. Benita Anderson. I'll be your host for today. I'm the founder of Stretch Educational Training and Support. To learn more about what we do at Stretch, visit us at www.stretchyourschool.com. Now, introducing my guest for today, woman of influence, educational expert, and I'll let her tell you a little bit about herself before we get into the topic of the day. I'm introducing to you Dr. Doris Williams Langon. Welcome, Dr. Langon. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, good afternoon, and I'm proud to be here. I'm had a long career focused on service. I've served as an early childhood teacher, a medical and school social worker, a school district, region, and state administrator, and a community advocate, and I retired as a school superintendent and enjoying being a mother, grandmother, and wife.
And she is definitely a phenomenal woman. She defines retirement very different than the average person would. If you saw my post introducing her, you know that she didn't tell you, she's very active. For a retiree, we met at our fitness center, and she's there as often as I am, and very active, and has been a very influential woman in my life. I will not go into detail with that yet, but she has definitely been an influence for me. Today, we've chosen the topic of life lessons, and I'm going to go ahead and let Dr. Langon go right in. She has some very interesting things to share with you, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Langon.
All right, thank you, Dr. Stretch. Okay, one of the most important lessons I've learned that life is indeed a journey. And I'm grateful having met you at the Health Club and honored to be part of your virtual influential women tribute. But I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to recognize and celebrate my mother, the most influential person in my life. And her name, May Precious Dubar Williams. My mother didn't make an earth 70 years, but her daily lessons that I often called fussing live on in me. My ancestors, like all Black Americans, endured many forced journeys, but my parents, like other members of the Great Migrators, took a journey of choice to Chicago. They raised 13 children, first in the Bronzeville kitchenette, and then on Chicago's West Side. Education was very important to both of my parents. They viewed it as the key to success. As children of Mississippi sharecroppers, they experienced multiple interruptions in their education, but they were determined for all of us to attend college. And I can hear my mother saying, make something out of yourself. Get something in your head and nobody can take it away from you. Don't be an educated fool. She really was bent on that. After 2 years of COVID, and now possibly more with this new BA2 variant, our children have also experienced too many interruptions in their educational and social journey. To close these gaps, we need to look at providing them with more out-of-school time. Programs are needed to supplement, differentiate, and accelerate our children's academic achievement and social and emotional learning skills. They need to participate and before and after school, Saturday, maybe after church on Sunday, summer, spring, and winter holiday experiences. Because of these COVID losses that will continue to be compounded, we may even need to consider expanding public education from pre-K to 12 to pre-K to 14, and really focus on providing our youth with viable career paths and the training they need to be able to hold careers and jobs that they can raise a family on. So that's what my parents, like their peers, they viewed Chicago as a city of promise, a place to build a better future, a place far away from those cotton fields where segregation and Jim Crow really wasn't right in their faces every single day. They believed in working hard and playing hard. So growing up in a little 2-bedroom apartment, we had structure, we had fun, we had balance. She'd say, do it right the first time, then you won't have to do it again. Because if it wasn't right the first time, it was done again. And I don't care about what somebody else, mama, let them do. You're gonna do what I'm telling you to do. We had chores and jobs. We took visits, and like in Chicago, we had the Riverview, we had shows, we had the Regal Theater. We could walk to the library, to the park. We can get on the bus and go to the museums and the zoo. We had playtime, we had homework time, we had TV and radio time, but we had very little phone time. We had one big red telephone that my mother guarded. So, you know, and right now she would be really upset about how we've let social media become the primary educator for our children. Really, even at early childhood ages, our kids are very adept in accessing and using social media, and we need to give them more direction. One thing my mother would say is, don't put your business in the street. And literally, that's what's been happening. So, and today, all of us, young and old, we just can't live without our phones. So they have pluses, but they also have minuses. And now more than ever, our kids need physical activity. They need to play to address their health and wellness and socialization needs. And you don't see children playing sports or jumping rope or hopscotch or skating or even riding bikes like we used to do. And that needs to be restored. And we also need to help them really think about what they're posting, what they're reading. They need to understand that it's being permanently shared with everybody and anybody. And it will follow them through life. One of the other key values my parents stressed was the importance of family. Being together, supporting each other, no matter what. I really miss our every Saturday church, have dinner, play, and be with us. You had to be over there every Sunday. And we had friends that would come, and those days I really miss. And during the COVID shutdown, a lot of us experienced isolation. And that's something that we are going to have to really address with our children. One of the things we did as a family was initiate an every Saturday, 5 o'clock Central Standard Time family Zoom meeting. We even had an agenda. We had family that tuned in, not just from all over the country, but even a niece way in Sweden. So if we were just so happy to see each other, hear each other, share stories, celebrations. I could even kind of hit at some of my brothers and pop their heads, and it just really brought us even more together. And it helped us. One of the things we also did was talk about health issues, updated about what's happening in your state, your city. We encourage it's 4 generations. So we encourage younger ones, talk about what you're doing in school, talk about your career. I even put together a book of poetry called COVID Times, which I'm going to publish. And we did show and tell how to do a face mask. And so it's just a lot of fun. And we continue to do that now, the first Saturday of each month. So, and as teenagers, my mother would say, when we were sitting out on the porch trying to court with those nasty boys, who is his people? And we were like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But she realized how important it is to know your family, know your history, your DNA. One of the, during COVID, I went and did the ancestry test and really found out so much about our ancestors, all the way to Africa, and built a family tree from 1751. So it's important, my mother would say, to know from whence you came. And so this Women's History Month really highlights the educational equity challenge we have to enhance our youth's access to curriculum, programs, support, and educational opportunities that accurately reflect and acknowledge their ancestors' struggles and celebrate their accomplishments and contributions to this world. My mother would say, if you don't know where you've been, you don't know where you're going. And I think that's one of the biggest issues for our kids is that, and of course, one of the first social emotional competencies, truly being self-aware. And we need to provide them with Saturday programs that really highlight their heritage. We have the DuSable Museum here. I've been once to the museum in Washington, D.C. Oh, it is amazing. I could live in there. And they're going to open a new museum, I believe this summer, in South Carolina, right there at the port where they know about 60% of us literally came through. And it's going to be I think it's going to be the World or the International African American Museum, right in Charleston. So today, with violence so escalated and our world possibly on the brink of a third war, one of the things my mother would say is, we're all going out this world backwards. So, and that tomorrow's not promised to you. So you need to try to make the best of what you're doing today. I hate to talk about it that way, but listening to the news and the advancements of Putin, and if he hits that nuclear button, so I don't know, but we've got to keep going. And she really had adamant lessons on respect for us, because more than ever, this is what we need to focus on. Her lessons of respect and kindness. She insisted that we speak to people, whether they spoke back or not. And if we, and in the presence of adults, to call them Miss and Mr. And if you didn't know their first name, which she'd often forget, call them Mr. Man or Miss Woman. So I was like, okay. And she'd say, treat people like you want to be treated. So really, she was embedding in us social awareness and relationship skills that, stay with me today. And this, and this is National Nutrition Month. And as a nation, we're dealing with food and nutrition insecurity, just like we did when we grew up in North Lawndale in Chicago, which still is a food desert. My mother prepared a weekly grocery list that my father took and shopped in the white communities. People rang our bell for food, and kids ate with us regularly. But my mother's message of kindness even extended to the neighborhood squirrels. She included their food on the grocery list and placed it on the back porch for them to gather. After she died, they'd come up on the back porch and knock on the back window, frantically looking for her. Should cut my phone off. I'll call you back. Sorry. Looking for a kind woman who supplemented their food, my mother. So, as I say, her words, her lessons stayed with all of us and carry us through life. And this journey has been difficult, harder than I think she even thought, but she did her best to prepare us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful. So for our audience here, I'm a little choked up, but it'll go away. But before we go, and I am closing down, but just before we go, kind of the way I met Doris is through stories that we just heard. I found myself intrigued with so many of the, she was always offering me wisdom for one thing. And, of course, I love to learn. But she brought up a couple of things. One, she talked about pre-K through 14. So that means that basically the community colleges, the parents and families need to be made aware that most of their children can go to community colleges free. And sometimes I did a session not too long ago about other options than, 4-year colleges. But she mentioned that it's important that we continue to guide them, because when they go, and I'm just agreeing with what she said, when they go to the community college or whatever their next stop is, they still need us and they still need guidance. She mentioned activity for children. I want to acknowledge Doris, and actually I have a lot of ladies that I would like to acknowledge in terms of being active ourselves, because we're being role models with our children. She talked about the inactivity of our children, whether they're doing it or not. They're watching us. They're watching us get up and go to the health club every day. They're watching everything we do. They're watching us out riding bikes when, to them we're ancient, but they're still seeing us do this. So at the time when they, even though they don't make the decision right now, when the time comes, if you listen to Doris talking about her mom, all those things stayed with her, and the same thing's going to happen to them at some point. So I just want to acknowledge and there are a lot of us women our age who remain active, and I want to acknowledge not only are we taking care of ourselves, but we're also setting a good example. Thank you for talking about your generational values and the joy of your family. One of the things that intrigues me, one more thing, is this large family concept. As soon as she told me how large her family was, my ears just opened up, because I really, I'm one of 3, but I really, or I grew up with, you know, two brothers in the home and myself. Um, the seeing how large families operate like that and how they get things done has always been it just really was exciting to me that they can get these things done. And the one thing she said that I find so interesting is that the other kids came over to their house. I had with all the house full of children, and they came over to their house and ate. And I actually had the pleasure of that myself. I had a very good home girl of mine came from a large family. I think there were 10. And that's where we like to go hang out. So I've always found that interesting that one, that the parents let us come, and two, that we enjoyed being around other people. And that kind of speaks to some of the things she talked about as far as what our children need. So Doris, thank you. I appreciate you. Any closing words for us?
Well, again, as we move through these difficult times, COVID, inflation, potential war in our backyard, we just need to pull together more, and we need to really remember that our children have experienced great losses, and think about creative ways to bring them together to play games, board games, just to keep them from experiencing these the isolation and the disruptions that they've encountered as a result of COVID.
Absolutely. Know that I appreciate you. Again, it was thoroughly enjoyed the presentation, the interaction with you, as I always do. And for those watching, just to let you know, you can reach me if you have questions or comments or want to learn more about me. You can reach me at stretchyourschool@gmail.com. That is my phone number there. You can reach me directly. And there's my website. And also, before we leave, I'm just going to ask you to connect with me. If you do nothing but say hello, or just click, go like. This video will be up soon. Share the video. It will be available for you to share. And these are my social media handles, and I'd like for you to connect with me on whichever is your favorite platform. Okay. Peace, everybody. Thank you
And
for
thanks
joining
again.
us. You're welcome. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.